U.S. Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg is joining us today. Mr. Secretary, thank you for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
I do want to start, before we get into some other questions, with a bit of the news of the day. What reaction can you share at all about the indictment of former President Donald Trump?
Well, look, personally, I have the same reaction, I think, as all Americans, but this is a local law enforcement matter, not something the administration is involved with, so we're watching it like everybody else in the country.
Additionally, I do want to ask you, because the Justice Department announced it is suing the rail company after that major derailment in Ohio. A lot of people here in Texas are very concerned about that because we, after all, have more railway lines than anywhere else in the country. So I'm wondering what kinds of accountability measures are underway at the federal level to reassure people that something like that won't happen where they live.
Well, I think everybody who lives on or near a railway line is looking at some of the derailments that have happened and saying, are we protected, are we safe? This is why we are pushing for a higher level of accountability in partnership with Congress. We're going to continue enforcing with all of the tools that are available to our department. That's part of how we have been able to make major improvements in railroad safety over the years, but clearly there's a long way to go. We're urging Congress to pass legislation that would allow us, for example, to assess fines that are actually going to make a difference for these multi-billion-dollar railroad companies when they get caught in safety violations. We're also calling for tougher standards around the physical safety of hazardous material transportation. And I think now is a moment where everybody in Congress needs to show whether they're serious. And many, to their credit, both from the Republican and Democrat side of the aisle, have come together in the Senate to propose legislation. The sooner that it gets passed, the sooner the president could sign it, and we could go to work enforcing it. In the meantime, we're not wasting any time here at the Department of Transportation, stepping up inspections, audits, everything we can do to keep freight railroads safe in this country.
Now, as part of the Biden administration's infrastructure and climate change plans, a big emphasis is on expanding the availability of access to electric vehicle chargers. Here in our state, rural areas have a tough time getting to those or even finding them nearby. So what updates can you share about making those more easily found in Texas?
Well, this is exactly why we have hundreds of millions of dollars headed to the state of Texas specifically for the purpose of installing chargers. We want to get to a point where, in the same way as when you go on a road trip today, you know there's going to be a gas station when you need one. The same is true for electric charging infrastructure. I will say that rural Americans are among those who stand to benefit the most from electric vehicles because, of course, rural drivers tend to drive the most distances in their daily routines. That means you're spending the most money on gas and diesel right now, and will save more because charging a car is cheaper than filling up a car with gas or a truck with diesel. That's why we've fought to get the sticker price of electric vehicles down, which the Inflation Reduction Act does. And I would also point to the fact that rural Americans are more likely to live in single-family homes where you can just charge a car with a plug in your wall. So if we have that piece, at least for those who have the single-family homes, then it really does come back to the highway network, making sure we have those chargers out on the road if you're traveling long distances. And that's exactly what we're doing, funding the states to put those chargers where they need to be.
And while we still have you here in Austin, we are in the midst of getting a major public transit expansion off the ground. And as a former mayor yourself, what is your advice for managing the timing and budget of such a large-scale project like that?
Well, Austin has major, ambitious, and impressive plans for the future of Cap Metro. We've been proud to support that federally with $20 million to help with the acquisition of buses, 66 to help with bus rapid transit, and a partnership for loan facilities as well. And look, Austin is in a position that a lot of cities would like to be in terms of all the growth. But with that growth, you've had a lot of congestion, and that's why that vision for expanding transit is so important. It's going to benefit people who have a chance to use it. It'll even benefit the people who don't use it because if you are still on the road, there will be less people to compete with if others are using transit. It's good for the economy, it's good for the environment, and while it can be challenging because it's such a big project to get underway, we believe that there is enormous potential here, and we're pleased to be involved in some of these efforts.
All right, Secretary Buttigieg, thank you again for joining us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.